What a great question. If your buyer breaches their buyer-broker agreement, such as by failing to pay compensation owed under the agreement, then the broker will need to decide whether or not to enforce the agreement. There really are pros and cons to each choice. Take, for example, the issue of maintaining relationships. If the broker forgoes enforcement of the buyer-broker agreement and lets the buyer off the hook for the breach, the broker is leaving the door open for that relationship to be renewed in the future. On the other hand, if the broker continues to demand payment or threatens litigation if the buyer refuses to pay, then it should be no surprise if that buyer does not want to work with that broker again in the future. Moreover, in those circumstances, the buyer might choose to attack the broker through social media or online reviews. This risk may counsel against seeking enforcement for a broker that has spent years cultivating a positive reputation in the community. Another issue to consider is the business's bottom line. If the broker forgoes enforcement of the agreement, then clearly the broker is leaving money on the table that he or she is contractually entitled to. This is a genuine loss which needs to be evaluated, because if the broker were to pursue the right to compensation legally, then the broker could recover additional monies that otherwise would have been lost. In light of these considerations, my advice to brokers is that they should think through what might happen depending on their choice to either enforce or forgo enforcement of the buyer-broker agreement. In addition, when it comes to this decision, it's always best to maintain open communication between brokers and their agents on the front end, ideally before being confronted with a buyer breaching the buyer-broker agreement. That extra communication on the front end will ensure that brokers and their agents are on the same page if and when this situation rears its head.